Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to our show, and it's actually not my show. It's Teresa Rogerson's show, we also better known as Tree. I love her nickname Tree because she's, well, known as a designer from Ecology by Design, and that's what she does best. She's working with plants, landscapes, trees. I have to put that out there. Project management services. She does a lot to help you beautify your property, and of course, overall improving the bottom line and the aesthetics. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's cold. How are you,
Yeah,
Jill?
cold here in New York as well. We got some snow the other day. What about you?
Oh yeah, snow and freezing pipes and all those things.
Oh, exciting times, right? How do you do landscape design in the winter months? I mean, does it slow down or you're still hustling and bustling?
Well, it slows down over the holidays because people are with family and all of
Hmm.
that. But wintertime is really the best time to design because we have this downtime. It's a good time to dream. And so people get together, or I get together with clients, and we plan for what's going to happen in the spring
So this is your
and
busy
summer.
season. That's right. I was thinking outside actually doing it. No, the thought
Sure.
behind it, the design process behind it, hence Eco by Design. That's ECOBYDESIGN.net. Correct? That's how we contact you?
That's right.
Beautiful. And for those new time listeners and viewers out there today, would you mind just giving a little overview about the work that you do?
Sure, I do ecological landscape design, and what that means is I'm trying to reduce input. So I'm trying to reduce the cost. I'm trying to reduce the overall ecological cost, bring in the native plants for the region to create something beautiful, but also to solve problems in the easiest way, drop problems such as drainage and flooding. And some of us know more about that than others right now, and issues with just any drainage, mainly because water falls voluminously from the sky. And so letting it go to the right place in your property, but solving problems, but also just creating beautiful outdoor environments so that your not only is your bottom line increased, but when you walk out of your house, you're not your house doesn't stop there. Your home and the place that you live extends into your landscape, literally, and you can rub shoulders with nature without having to step on the ground.
Thank you. It's beautiful to think about. Yeah, no matter what time of year, I just love looking out the window, dreaming of what could be, driving around, seeing what is and what could be. And this is the line of work that you're in, really beautifying the aesthetics of your property, whether it's personal, commercial. I know you have a lot of experience in this, and I know we've spoken before. For those that aren't aware, landscape design, something super, super important because I did it. I had friends who haven't done it, and guess what? They wish they did because they'd save themselves some money because they're doing it awkwardly. Well, they think cheaper by going piece by piece, but they should have invested in the overall goal of the plan, which is something I know you believe in too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what I love to say is that landscape design is about everything, because if you think about life, everything we do is on the planet, whether we're just walking around or we're trying to go to our car to get something out of it. Everything we do,
Yeah.
we move on the landscape. If we put a building, it's in the landscape somehow, and it needs to be facing a certain way. So I kind of have, and even if we're just talking about flying a plane that's not on the land, but you have to land the plane,
Ah,
you got to have a good, you've got to have an airstrip that's facing the right way based on
yeah.
the environmental
The winds and
description. So, yeah.
So for today's show, what did you want to kind of go over with your viewers? And I know there's a lot of services that you offer. You have an extensive background and knowledge. What area of focus did you kind of want to hone in on for us today?
Yeah, I've been doing this for 25 years, and my original interest is more kind of public stuff to basically conserve natural areas. But I realized that I really love residential landscape design, and you can make such an impact kind of, it's the 1 yard at a time type thing. So today I'd like to talk about rain gardens, and what rain gardens is part of is the bigger picture of drainage and stormwater management.
Well, to be honest, I'm not even familiar with the term or what this is. So there must be people out there like me listening saying, oh, what does she mean? What is a rain garden? Could you share?
Sure. I mean, it has a nice ring to it, right? It's like, ooh, a
Yeah.
rain garden. What's that?
I'm picturing like a waterfall down in Jamaica, but I don't know if that's what that is.
It's not, but that's kind of what I thought when I first learned about them.
Okay.
Rain gardens are places that you create, that you dig a little bit, and I'll tell you more about how to create them, and plant plants that really want the rainwater that's falling. It's a passive way to deal with excessive water that is normally sheeting off of the land. Like, so you do them away from your house, you do
Okay.
them downhill of your foundation, and they are basically collection basins that then plants are planted into. The water fills the collection basin, and the plants are like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And they suck that water up and they grow big and beautiful. And then you have a garden that is taking advantage of the drain water coming from your gutters or just off the patio, they use them publicly. And if you start looking, you'll probably see one like in the next couple of months, because you'll be like, oh wait, is that what she's talking about?
Yeah.
In commercial areas, because parking lots are huge expanses of impermeable material, right? So all that rainwater, that's just like a roof. A parking lot is huge.
Yeah.
A lot of them. So where does that water go? We think, oh, it goes into the drain. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times, like in suburbs and stuff like that, that rainwater sheets off and has to go somewhere. So you will start to see more and more collection basins with these reeds and rushes and plants coming out. And it's like, yeah, that's where it goes, because the plants love it. And those plants help metabolize toxins and whatnot that are in the water. And so it's a win-win, because they're beautiful, passive, they're not expensive. You do them once, and then you're good.
Oh, I want to see some of the work. Is there pictures on the website that I could peek at too?
Oh gosh, on
Do you
my
have any on your end you can share?
I don't know if I have. I don't mm,
It's okay. It's okay. It just
actually I do, but let me think about that as we go.
sure, sure, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at my projects list right now.
I see.
It's fun. But the thing about rain gardens is they're passive, and I like to concentrate more on solutions that don't require maintenance or upkeep. Okay, any garden's going to have a little bit of maintenance, like
Yes, we
sometimes you
talked
got to
about
prune
weeds
the trees back,
and pruning.
uh,
Yes.
or yeah, pruning and weeding. Those are realities that we can't really escape. But there's a scale, and year maintenance frequency than every week. But the solutions I like to concentrate on are ones where you can grade the land in a certain way and plant the plants that are going to appreciate what's happening, and then kind of sit back and enjoy life, rather than having, for example, like a sump pump in your basement to pump up water all the time that's getting in there. To me, that's sketchy, because what if the electricity goes out? What if your generator decides it's time for it to go out? And just the cost of the sump pump and the electricity that it uses, and depending on something like that. So I'd rather grade the land and get water away from structures and into these rain gardens, or otherwise in the right place.
Oh, wow. And I mean, I'm trying to think if you have to, what the way you angle things. It's like I never thought about these things until I started talking to you a little more about my yard, about like where the sun is, where's the best, right? Like, because those are all important things to where, yeah, people, I mean, you buy a home And I mean, some people just buy it. They don't realize that the sun comes from that you want a garden over here, you want this. Maybe you can't, right? Like the front of my house is in the shade all winter. So there's ice right now everywhere. No matter what, if I shovel, it doesn't matter. It's not going to melt. So I just have
Yeah.
to deal with it. Then the neighbor is all shiny and sunny. And it's like, but in the summer, it's the opposite. I have the best of the backyard in the summer. They have the best of the front yard in the summer. So too bad we can't switch that around. But how do you position your rain gardens? What's really important to you with, placement as far as, in like the rain, the sun, the light? How does that affect it?
The light's not so important. The most important part about a rain garden is placing it downhill of the foundation,
Okay.
because you don't want the water being held above your foundation, and far enough away from your home, at least 15 feet away, so that if it fills up and you have like a biblical flood, kind of like we had here in Western North Carolina and Tennessee recently with Helene, that it backs up into your home. So mainly it's about, just because if you think about it, it's like the rain garden is like the lake, okay? And the rivers come into the lake, and the creeks. Your lake, you want the lake to be far enough away from all the houses so that the creeks can just run and fill the lake without the lake filling up and swamping your house. It's the same kind of thing.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be learning new terms and new visions of these rain gardens. What else?
Well, I love what you said, Jill, about kind of having more awareness of, like, oh my gosh, my house is situated on the planet in a certain way so that certain things are going to affect it more than others. I mean, it's just neat that you seem to have developed more an attunement to what's actually happening on your little spot in the world,
Yeah.
because I feel that that's really missing in home design or in
Mm-hmm.
architecture. And what I really wish people would do is call me when they want to build a house, and let's place the house in the right spot, because so many times people will put the house where they think you're supposed to put a house, like close to the road. And then they have all this backyard that they can utilize, which I understand wanting to have a nice backyard to utilize, but sometimes the house, wouldn't you want to bring it further off the road so that you don't have to just shut your blinds like this and be like, nobody, so that you have a little more privacy.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps you would preserve a view even for people who are driving by. Right across from where I live, there's $1 million view of like 7 mountain ranges that, like, it's gorgeous, the Blue Ridge Mountains of Western North Carolina. And every time coming home as a kid, when my dad had this property, you just look out and it's like, oh. But now someone bought the property and they put their house right on top, right next to the highway. They didn't do themselves any favors, because they have to shut the front blinds because people are driving by. And
Yeah.
everybody's view is now of this with shut front blinders,
Mm-hmm.
They just scooted it a little further down the hill. They would have still had their $1 million view. We wouldn't see as much of their house, and it would just, I just think everything would have been better. And so these are the kinds of things that go into landscape design or home design, and should go into home design.
It should go into the builder design, is what you're saying too, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, buying a piece of property and then developing on it. And yeah, there's a lot of houses near where I grew up, and it's on a busy road, and the houses are so darn close to the front, but they have this huge backyard. And if I was them, it'd be nice to have a decent sized yard, but also to be further off the main road. Growing up, these people have kids, and I'm like, they can never go play in their front yard. It's always the back. But I feel like it's too loud in the front. And I never thought about that. But you're right. Builders come in by and don't really think about these things sometimes, and they just put up houses. There should be a lot more thought that goes into it. Wow. Like full
And then
landscape
also,
design packages when you buy the land. But go ahead.
Ooh, now that sounds nice. I would love that. And then something you mentioned about where does the sun rise around here? That's important for a landscape for sure, because we got to put the right plants that go in the sun, plants that go in the shade. But like you were talking about in the summer, you have the enviable yard because it's shady and cool. Is that correct?
No, my yard is hot and sunny. So that's why I have a pool. But the front is shady. And I mean, there's still some shade in my yard, but I have a lot of the sun, which I love because the pool's back there.
See, exactly. But the front, you probably step into the front yard sometimes in the summer because it's nice and shady. And
To cool down. Yes, yes. I'm sorry if I misheard. Yes. Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
no,
for sure.
you're fine. Yes, exactly. So, we need to think about these things when we decide where we want to really invest in, say, a nice flagstone patio, or even like an outdoor kitchen. We've talked before about my love of using the front yard for more
Mhm.
than just
Yeah.
a pretty face.
Hmm.
I mean, it could be a gorgeous face, if we could just put a little more utility to the front yard and more functionality,
Yeah.
because oftentimes the front yard is the meeting place between and your house, and it's fun to utilize that. But yeah, and then drainage, back to drainage, what we were talking about before, in siting a home and thinking about everything landscape design, your patio, your deck. In fact, I have a new client right now who has a house, beautiful, gorgeous house in an exclusive area. And the house is sitting there, and then there's a deck, and it's a little deck. This their house is flanking this gorgeous kind of open forest that you want to look into. We need to have places to kind of stare off into we got to stare off and kind of like sip our coffee, because that's relaxing. We want these long range views.
Yeah.
So they have this little deck, and there's this really thick railing. So when you're sitting inside and you look out the window, you see this railing, it's vertical. And that's all you really see. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk out and do cascading steps down to a patio, so that from the inside, you don't see the railing because it's only a couple of feet of height. So you don't even really need a railing if it's 24 inches off of the ground. But we're going to create spaces for people and planters of plants that cascade down onto a stone patio onto the ground. When you're inside, you look out, you see not only, hey, that's a good looking patio, or that's some nicely built
Yeah.
decking, but you don't see that big railing.
No.
So that merging of the outside and the inside. But the main point is that the deck has gaps in the boards, and the rain hits the deck, and it goes down, and it is flooding their basement.
Ooh.
So what we're going to do is have raised, like the cascading steps. I call them
Okay.
cascading. I'm still going to call them that. Those are going to be solid, so that rainwater will fall off of those down and away from the house, so it won't even flood the basement anymore.
Wow.
So we're going to
Wow.
take, because she's got all this sump pump stuff like I was talking about earlier, and like clean up and all this. I think they can keep their sump pump just as a backup, but they're not going to. This design will passively take the rainwater that's hitting and send it away from the house, which is always where it needs to go.
Awesome. You're teaching me a lot here today, and I hope you all are learning from our friend Tree. Remind us how we can reach out to you for more information.
Well, you can find me on House, the kind of social media of everything home. That's
Mm-hmm.
my term for it. But so that website, or that address, is houzz.com/pro/tree. But
Perfect.
my website, which is hosted through them, is ecobydesign.net. So ECOBY design.net. And then I have a phone
Beautiful.
number too.
And what is that?
Phone number is 510-227-7804. And
Oh,
that's from the 20 years I spent in the Bay Area of California,
Got it.
working with,
And well, that's the number I just called too when I didn't see you in the Zoom, but then
yeah.
you were in the Zoom, you said. But anyway, so I was like, oh, 510. I'm like, I thought it's North Carolina, but I guess we all have our numbers. Yep. You keep them, right?
Oh yeah, I've got half of my heart is still in California. I spent 20 years in the Bay Area working with really amazing designer and architect, landscape architect, and I just cherish my time and my learning there. I learned fast and hard there.
Well,
So I'm bringing
oh my gosh, the difference of landscapes from where you are now to there, right? And learning,
yeah.
right? Different materials because it's hotter weather. There's different plants. There's different, ooh. I didn't ever thought about that. You have to be multi-verse to like you got to know every region and what's available. That's a lot of work. It's like a veterinarian who has to learn not just one body like a doctor, right? You got to learn all these different species, all these
Well,
different.
just yeah. I mean, but I grew up in North Carolina and I went to graduate school in Massachusetts. So the plants out here, I had those from birth, kind of. The
Got it.
California ones, they're actually more similar than you think. And what's exciting is that they're so many of them, because it was Central California, were very similar. So many of them are the same. They're just different species. And I love that. They're like cousins, West Coast, East Coast.
Oh,
So it wasn't as hard as you're saying, because just like a vet, they know like the basic systems of that animals have. But
got it.
yeah.
Basic, but a little different. You got to learn. That's amazing. So hold on. Are we continuing life in North Carolina, or do you ever want to go back to California? Just curious on a personal level.
Oh, you know it. I mean, like I said, half my heart is there. So I'm just
Yeah.
kind of, my branches spread wide.
I love it. Her tree branch. I love this. All right. Still a few more minutes left. What else did you want to touch upon with the rain gardens, or did you want to add something else?
Um, well, I guess what I would say is that when I was saying landscape design is about everything, people people come to me all the time. They're like, "Oh, you must love to garden. You're a landscape designer." And my answer to that is like, not really. It's not that like people think of landscape design and they think of pretty flowers and plants, and that is so true. I mean, that stuff is awesome. And I will scroll late into the evening looking at plants and looking at, like, oh, wow, where can I find this plant or whatever? Plants are amazing. But the best part of landscape design for me is designing something that is super useful, that extends the value of your property financially. I mean, extends in other words, increases the bottom line, but also literally extends your living area,
Hmm.
but also solves problems or prevents problems. Um,
Yeah.
and so pathways and patios and, outdoor covered spaces, these things, it's really hard to put a value on them because they're amazing. Like if all of a sudden now, if you have a pergola that has um, like some polycarbonate clear cover with
Oh.
grapes growing and hanging down for you to reach up and pluck and eat while you hang out talking to your family. There could even be a rainstorm going on and you're undercover, but you're outdoors. Just this is invaluable. The communing with nature and looking outside from your home to something beautiful, coming home from a long day and seeing something beautiful. These are all kind of intangible values. It's hard to put a dollar sign on, but so it's definitely a true love. But so much more, landscape design, so much more than just plants and flowers.
No.
They're kind of like the icing on the cake, really, but,
Beautiful.
but so important.
Of course. And let's just, unfortunately, we only have 2 more minutes left in the show. How did you want to kind of sum things up for today? And how do we contact you? We'll repeat that information. And again, remind everyone that you are in the 510 area code.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I will work. One thing is I've had quite a life of a lot of travel, and I'm a like competitive wave ski surfer and all this. So I like to travel and go places, and just because I'm kind of rooted in the South and California, I cover every space in between, which is the entire country. So I love the opportunity when I've had friends call and say, hey, can you come to Wisconsin to help us with our landscape design? Absolutely. So it's really fun to travel and design. And I am so down for doing that. Or someone in coastal Georgia, can you come over? Absolutely. Not Seattle, but White Salmon, Washington. So this is a passion that I can do kind of anywhere. And so I would love to hear what people's questions are, maybe for the next couple of episodes.
Yeah,
to
wait,
see
and didn't you also work one of the reviews? I'm not sure if I read it though last time we spoke, but there was someone, were you working in London or Paris with someone?
um
Let me go to your website 'cause I remember.
no, nothing out of country.
Hold on. There was something on let me go back to the reviews. By the way, go to her testimonials. I'm there now. ECOBYDESIGN.net.
Correct.
Mary, house user. Teresa. Oh, it was, Teresa was wonderful to work with as a London-based interior designer. I
Yeah.
knew I wanted something unique when we decided to create an outdoor patio at our vacation rental property in Virginia. Okay, but she's from, London. Got it. But let me just
Right.
finish this one. We looked for her guidance to create something to take best advantage of our peninsula view, help to add structure to our large and largely unlandscaped grounds, sit beautifully in our hillside, and also offer an elegant and unique destination point, as well as great views. Teresa listened to what was important to me, delivered a thoughtful consultation, and created something uniquely beautiful that is such a wonderful departure from the standard paver patio that so many landscape designers are suggesting. She's professional, thoughtful, and creative, and working with her was a great experience.
Awesome.
That's it. So this is great. You get to travel and do some of these projects. Before I just read that review, you were mentioning doing some coastal work. I could
Mhm.
imagine those views.
Yeah, no, they're a
Wow.
little bit inland, but they're under those live oaks of the South, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Gorgeous St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Yeah.
I've heard of that. Never been. It's so much on my bucket list to do.
The
And
Virginia property is one of those where she was thinking about having a patio kind of right up next to the house, looking out at the lake. And we decided, like, why not have more of a destination patio to get people away from the house? And
oh,
because she wanted an outdoor kitchen there, it was safer to have it out away from the house anyway. So it's like you're thinking about all this stuff when you design, and it's crazy. And then you distill and you massage, so to speak, and the right solution comes.
beautiful. Ecology by design is this, you say we create our environment, right? So eco means home, and logy, Greek, is a logis of the study of, whether we realize it or not. You say we're constantly observing and changing, designing our lives with constraints, opportunities as well. Thus, we craft our own ecology of living. Landscape design can turn a house into a home. It can be maintenance free, but for the occasional tune-ups, of course, we're going to need some of those. A yard can bring the wild beauty of open spaces into our everyday lives, or make a small spot become grand, whether it's the front, side, or back, anywhere. All right. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jill. Nice to
Thank
see you.
you again. You too. You have a fantastic day and
You too.
enjoy the cold weather, and
Stay
best of
warm.
luck prepping. I can't wait to hear what's on your list next. Maybe you could share some of your secret designs that you're working on in the spring.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day, sweetheart.
Thanks, you too.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the mytuner-radio, online radio box, and simpleradio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
when I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.